Hey, it's Jake Berry with Berry Genius, and we got some quick hitters right now. Coach Gilpin is going to be our first quick hitter. And Coach, it's a tough question I'm going to ask you, and that is, who is your top five, or who are your top five mission vet players that have been in the program? I realize that, you've been there for a while. I remember when you became a head coach, but in your mind, who are your top five mission vet Patriots?
Man, you're right. That I don't know how much of a quick hitter I can do for you, man, because that's the toughest question you could have asked me. You could ask me any question on the face of this earth, and it's easier than this. This is the toughest one. And you're right, I have been there all 20 years as a high school. We played 20 years of football. I've been on the sideline for every game that we have played. It's harder for me to remember some of them back when I was an assistant coach, because I was coaching my position. And, so it's a little more difficult. But I've come up with a list. And whether anybody agrees or, leaving out kids that I love, that's why it's so hard. But, anytime you talk mission veterans football at this point where we've been in 20 years, obviously that's going to lead with Landry Gilpin. I know he's my son, and I understand, hey, man, you can just leave him out and say somebody else because of your son, but that wouldn't be fair to him, Jake. And when you win the #1 award in the state of Texas over 200,000 plus football players and a statewide recognition, that's something that may never happen for a Rio Grande Valley player again. Eddie Lee was nominated the next year, which was exciting and awesome, and hopefully it'll happen. But anyway, you don't talk mission veterans football without Landry Gilpin leading the conversation. It is what it is. I'm hoping, one day he's in the RGV Hall of Fame, and I'd love to see him in the Texas High School Hall of Fame and the things that are down the road. But what he did for this program, it took us further than we've ever been. 4th round, we're in the final 8 teams in Texas, led by him, and all his accolades are too many to number. So I'm going to start with him, and then I'm going to go to the receiver position. And this may be a little bit hard for some people that may not know as much, but AJ Ganzaki is going to be in our top 5. These are in no order. Landry, I'm going to start with him. The other ones are in no order. But AJ Ganzaki would own every receiving record that we have right now. He would own every one. He played 1 full year as a receiver, his sophomore year. Wow. His junior year, he had to go to quarterback when Ricky broke his leg at halfway through the season. And then his senior year, we only played 6 games. And he would own every receiving record, number of catches, total yards, touchdowns. He does own touchdowns if it would have happened. Phenomenal player. Obviously, signing with UTSA, who had the kind of year they had this year. Still have extremely high hopes to see what AJ does in the future. But you can't leave him out. He was that talented a young man. And I'm going to go to one more at receiver, and I'm going to split this one. And I know that's not fair. You said top 5, but I'm going to split it because I'm the one talking between Roman DeLeon and Bobby Tovar. Wow. Roman DeLeon is our leader. He's caught more passes at mission veterans than anybody in the history of our high school. He's, I think, ranked in the top 10 still statewide in the history of 5A football. I believe, I don't have the numbers with me, but I believe he had 229 catches as a football player at mission veterans. Touchdowns and yards were all incredible as well. And Bobby Tovar is our career leader in receiving yardage. AJ was right behind him, didn't get there, with not being able to play. But you do not talk about the greats at Mission Veterans Memorial without talking about Bobby Tovar and Roman DeLeon. And they were special players. It's like quarterback, we can do this just on quarterbacks, with Roma, with Santos Villarreal, Diego Hernandez, and Ricky Reina that just graduated. We have been just fun. Adrian Morales, who was our first superstar. We have been phenomenal. But that's why I said you made it so hard. And for right now, I've got Landry Gilpin, AJ Ganzaki, Roman DeLeon, and Bobby Tovar split. So that's 3. We're going to go to the defensive side of the ball. And you don't talk defense at Mission Veterans Memorial without Jacob Garza. And you've been around long enough. You had to know he had to be one of our 5. We called him the hit stick back then. He played a year up at West Texas A&M and came home. But that guy was as good a high school football player, as you could possibly hope for. You know, his senior year, we played him on the defensive side of the ball, the offensive side of the ball, special teams. He was just a phenomenal football player. And to this day, people still talk about Jacob Garza. You know, when I was talking to Landry about this, I said, man, Jake Berry's asking me these questions. And I said, well, what do you think? And I was telling him who I had. And before I even said it, Landry said Jake Garza. So that tells you, and Landry was, 5-6 years behind him, but his reputation preceded him. And our guys, he has set a standard. And we've had, safety has been a tremendous position for us. Kevin Labano, Julian Mesa, Gio Grimaldo, those guys are, you know, all state guys that have just done great things. But, you know, you got to start with Jake Garza. So now I'm down to one more.
Hold on. Yeah, we got one more. But Jake Garza, I still remember the hit he had against Westlake East.
Yeah.
That was
ask Greg Selber if he still remembers that. I met Greg Selber that night, man. I still have his article, Jake. And, you know, you're mentioned prominently in there. I don't know if you remember that article. He wrote a beautiful article after that game that before big games, every 3, 4, 5 years, I will make copies and hand it out to our players to read. And I handed that out this year on the way to the Medina Valley game this year. We had these are all guys that hadn't read it, and said, here's your assignment. And we read that on the way to a Medina Valley. And like I said, it mentions you prominently because you were interviewing me at the time where Greg was taking a lot of heat and having some fun, man. And I've gotten to know him since then. And obviously I've gotten to know you and just have the utmost respect for both of y'all and love y'all and what y'all do for Valley High School football. So I do remember that game, 2010, 8-0 Mission Veterans versus 8-0 Wesco East on a Thursday night. And it was something else, man. You know, here's this young guy, David Gilpin, and these bunch of outlaws that, you know, where do these guys come from, man? And we went out there and fortunately got the win that night and went on to become district and by-district champions. You know, that was back when Adrian Morales was quarterbacking us. And, you know, anyway, and Jacob Garza was running crazy out there, man. Shoot, almost went to the third round. Jacob had what a game he had in the Alamo Dome back in 2010. But anyway, so I'm down to 5.
Yes.
Down to 5. Landry Gilpin, AJ Ganzaki, Bobby Tovar, Roman De Leon split, Jacob Garza. I'm going to have to split number 5 too.
Okay, all right.
Let's go to inside linebacker, which is another dominant position for Mission Veterans Memorial. Safety has been, quarterback has been, wide receiver has been, and inside linebacker. Well, all the way back to Aaron Cortez, back when I first started back in 2009, we've had a litany of guys. You cannot leave off Joey Garcia. He was a member of that 2018 team that went to the 4th round. He was the Landry Gilpin of our defense. One of the most biggest playmakers that I've ever been around. His explosiveness and his when he got to the ball, there was fixing to be an explosion, and it was the same thing like Jacob Garza was. So you don't leave Joey Garcia out of any list that we have at Mission Veterans. But we have a young man now that's fixing to pass everybody. Luis De Hoyos is on the current squad. He is a senior, and I'm going to split it between Joey and Luis De Hoyos. I've never seen a football player like this young man, Jake, and I don't know that you've been to any of our games. This is a young man that will not stay blocked. He is probably the most physical kid that we've ever had, including Jake Garza, including Joey. His physical toughness is second to none, Jake. He is a special player. He will leave here. And again, I just left out Hugo Cabrera, who is our all-time leading tackler. He's got 397 tackles at Mission Veterans, all state player. Went out to Monmouth College. I just left him off that list to split it with Joey and Luis. Hugo was just special. But Luis De Hoyos is unbelievable. He will leave here. He's going to surpass Hugo's tackles list. He'll leave here basically as the defensive leader in almost every category we have. And he is something else, man. And I'm glad we got him back for another year, and we're feeling really good about ourselves for next year. But that's my 5. And I know I split 2 of them, and that's pretty good because
that's good.
I could have split.
I know I posed this question to you no more than not even an hour ago. So that was quick turnaround.
Well, everybody that I just put on that list deserves to be there. I just left off so many that deserve to be there. You know, Raul Becerril back and Kent Warren back in 2010. You know, those guys were just special players. Mm-hmm. You know, but with the statistics that Roman and Bobby Tovar and AJ put up, it's kind of a combination of things. You got to look at their talent, look at what were their statistics, because statistics do matter in something of this nature. And then you got to look at the success of the team. And, Kent Warren and Raul Becerril led us to our first district championship, our first by-district championship. Adrian Morales at running back. Those guys, Randy Lee Flores at inside linebacker, man. I mean, those guys were special players. And so it's really not fair to leave those guys off, but I did the best I could, Jake, to actually narrow it to 5. I know I put 7 on there, and I left off probably 50 that could have, fit in there. And I was telling you earlier, and I do want to say this to any ex-player that sees this, we have put together a Mission Veterans Memorial Hall of Fame to recognize all of our top players at each position: quarterback, running back, receiver, O-line, D-line, linebacker, and DB. And we have that listed for the 20-year history of our high school. The 7 years prior to me becoming a head coach, I went back to coaches and asked them for help. And, what I could remember. And then the 13 years I've been a head coach, and we haven't released that yet. I'm probably maybe do that this summer, but that includes our current players. I just left out Mark Champion in the conversation we just had. Mark Champion is one of the greatest defensive linemen. Well, certainly one of the greatest defensive linemen ever at Mission Veterans, but he's one of the best defensive linemen to come out of the Rio Grande Valley in years. And so there's a lot of people that I could talk about, that I should talk about, but I tried to do my best, Jake, to do it the way you wanted, which was 5 players. And like I said, I couldn't leave out Roman or Bobby, and I couldn't leave out Joey or Luis. So I did the best I could. I'm hoping once we release our Hall of Fame list that there's so many of these guys that are deserving of recognition in a conversation like this, see their names and they're proud of what, because, as a one heartbeat team guy, I don't care if it's my own son, Landry, or if it's, the third string guy on the worst team that we've ever had. They all have contributed to what our program has become. And I owe them all a debt of gratitude and just appreciate every one of them. So I hate to do lists like this that people get left out, but
I didn't give you much.
I also, if I can't answer the tough questions, then I don't deserve to be in this position either. So, I buckled down and strapped up a little bit, and said, okay, let's do this.
Well, I appreciate it, Coach, and you were our very first quick hitter, and I appreciate it. It wasn't an easy question. Picking 5 guys, 7 really out of all the guys you've had is a tremendous challenge by every imagination.
There was no tougher question, Jake. Like I told you, I walked inside, and Andrew was inside, and I told him that exact thing, man. I said, this is the hardest question that anybody could pose to me that's going to be in a public display. That's one thing to talk about it behind closed doors with coaches or even you and I, but to put it on a public platform is tough, because they all deserve the recognition. But I tried to do it for you the best I could, man.
Hey, I appreciate it, Coach, and thank you for being my first quick hitter.
Thank you for having me be a quick hitter. That's pretty cool, man. I'm honored to be the first. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.